T-minus. Is it 7 o'clock? And call the meeting to order with the pledge to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our meeting. Roll call. Kelly?
Mark Foltz.
Here.
Mark Frazier.
Here.
Francis Griffith.
Here.
Kelly Schmitz here. Troy Powell.
Here. Okay, on our agenda, any changes, Kelly? Troy?
Motion to approve.
Motion to
Second.
approve, second by Mark, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you should have your minutes of the last meeting, July 31st.
Motion to approve the minutes.
So a motion,
Second.
second by Butch. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, now we've got a public hearing for the ambulance assessment, which you probably got in the mail, which is something that has to be done every now and then. So the next order of business in the consideration of the ambulance service plan special assessment for the Township of Perry, excluding the boundaries of the Village of Morris. The estimate of cost for this service and the special assessment district proposed for the recovery of such costs. Okay.
Proper notice of hearing on these matters have been published in the Argus Press and posted at the Township Hall and mailed by first class mail to each property owner within the proposed assessment district as shown on the current tax rolls of the township.
Okay, Troy?
Okay, so what this is we do a special assessment for ambulance, which we've done for 50 years virtually. And so it was up for renewal this year. It was done last time in 2014, and it was done for 10 years, so it was up for renewal in 2024 here. Our procedure is we submit the question on the ballot, which we do not have to do, but it's something the Township Board has always done. And then after that, we have to hold 2 hearings, one to form the district and its duration, and then we have another one next month to spread the assessment. So the matter was submitted on the August ballot, and what was the tally there? Kelly, do you remember?
I got it here. There were 682 yes votes and 374 no votes.
So pretty overwhelming majority there. So the way we do ambulance is, so what this part of this hearing will be to establish the cost, which the cost we pay to CISA, the township doesn't make anything on it, what we collect in goes to the ambulance authority on monthly installments, which will next year be at the rate of $120 per unit. A unit is defined as a single-family residence, an apartment in an apartment building, so there's 10 apartments, there's 10 of them, 1 unit of a duplex, 1 trailer in the trailer park, and on any seasonal campgrounds, which we don't have any, it's assessed at half a unit on those. So that the cost for next year for the township will be $159,240, which is 1,327 units. Now, you heard in Mark there mention the excluding of the boundaries of the Village of Morris. It's because we can't administer a special assessment within the village boundaries. They have their own, and it's done exactly just like this, but they do their own on it. So like I said, this is nothing new. This is the same one that's been in place. It was up for renewal because it was 10 years in 2014, and 10 years takes us to now. So
It's the first time I've done this because I haven't been here for 8 years, but I'm learning here. So I've read this a couple of times, but I have to read it word for word so I don't miss anything, okay? So are there any objections or comments regarding the ambulance service? The estimate costs or the proposed special assessment district as described in the notice of the hearing, question letter. You'll have 5 minutes.
go ahead and open the hearing.
So I can open it. What time is it?
7:04.
Okay. Any discussion from the public or the board?
How do we know, you tell us here that the denominator, the numerator, the taxable value, is that what it would sell for or what is on the tax rolls that the state of Michigan says?
The 10% part is what she's asking about.
Well, taxable value is what your taxable value is.
Okay, so,
It's not, well, you're talking about SEV, which is what if it sells for, no, it's on taxable value. But the way the formula works is taxable value is both in the numerator and the denominator there, so it works out to the flat fee per unit. So each house is charged the same, no matter what the value is.
Oh, really?
Yes. And that's just for ambulance. And the reason that's always been done that way is because it used to be ambulances in the area were kind of like an optional thing in rural communities. I mean, we're going back to like the 70s and the 80s here. And the idea of having an ambulance in the community was a new concept per se. And so there was one form called PMSA ambulance, which was stood for Perry-Moore Shasberg, and it was a private nonprofit, but it was owned by the local municipalities. All it did was ambulance. Then in 2004, CISA was created, which basically took the fire department and it merged it in, so there was the EMS and fire are together. So they are separately, and on your tax bill, you're charged separately. So you'll see a millage in the winter for that says CISA fire. That's the fire portion of it, and then you'll see another line that says ambulance, and that's what this hearing is about. So even though they are the same department, the funding is kept separate within the department. The reason being is we have some jurisdictions that get fire and EMS, and some that just get EMS. So for fire, it's covered just basically this general area. So Perry Township, portion of Bennington, and a portion of Antrim Township. Where EMS is covering all of Bennington, all of Antrim, all of Burns, all of Vernon, all of Durand, basically covering the whole southern part of the county. So that's why those funds are kept separate, so there's no question that, Durand's supporting our fire department or we're supporting the Durand ambulance, that those monies are kept separate for that reason. So the reason also it's always been on the flat rate is because the idea is ambulances protect people, and people are based in households. Fire departments protect property, and that's why it's calculated on a millage basis based on the taxable value. So that's that's the history of it, per se.
So is the 10% then, 10% increase on the 120?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so CESA can assess up to 10%, but if it goes over 10%, then we have to have another hearing.
what if it doesn't go to 10%? I mean, what happens?
It's
You
just.
still have to have a hearing?
No, we review this every September. And this is true for any special assessment. This isn't special to this one. And if the amount exceeds 10%, then there is a hearing. The notice has to be sent out for a hearing. But every September, the township board at the September public meeting reviews it, and we get a notice from CISA every year what it's going. And I would anticipate a roughly $10 increase each year.
$10 per year.
That's what it's been going on.
Dick, you
Are
have?
you saying that the other townships are going to do the same thing that
Yep.
we're doing here?
Yep, everyone pays the same.
Okay, I got another question.
Sure.
Earlier this year, the fire chief was here. He was talking about losing the EMTs because they couldn't pay them enough. They were voted money. So now you're asking more money again in the same year. Yeah, that was
Same year.
Earlier this year, the fire chief was here to a meeting. And he needed more money to keep his EMTs, or paramedics, I mean.
I think that was this meeting last year.
I don't know, I thought it was a lot sooner than that.
Because it only goes on the winter bill, it's only once a year. So last year it was 110, and next year it's gonna be 120.
How are you figuring, you said that taxes were based on individual houses, but they're all gonna be joined together.
No, it's on each, so if a property is vacant land, it does not have it on it.
Right.
Right.
But houses,
So it's not based on your taxable value. It's just a flat fee
automatically.
across the board. For each
Everyone gets
unit.
it.
everyone gets it, but if you have like a duplex, you pay it twice, you know.
I pay what you pay, what he pays.
And that's across the entire service area, all the way to Byron, Duran, everyone is charged $120.
You said before it was 110, now it's gonna be 120.
Correct, it was
Does that
110.
make the next year 130?
I would be,
And all
I would
140?
assume so, probably. So for many, hold on, just one second, hold on, for many years, so this was at $45 a household for a better part of 20 years. Since 2003, I believe, 2002, 2003. And they were able to hold it at the same for all of those years. It went up to 65, and what year was that, Mark? 20...
3 years ago.
Right.
4 years ago.
Because it's been 110 for 24 years, and it was 65 for 2 years in there. The problem is they waited too long in there. And CISA went from a very stable organization to a not stable organization. And last year, they went into a massive budget deficit. In fact, the Fire Ambulance Authority came very close to insolvency last year. Few people know that, unless you came to every meeting and knew what was going on, but it became very dire in there. One of the reasons in there is the cost. First of all, they didn't raise it for 20 years, right? I mean, that was a problem. But as they expanded service area, there's economies of scale, and you cover more territory, and you can spread those fixed costs out. But what really hurt is when 2020, during the pandemic, EMS calls went down. Ironically, during that public health situation, there were fewer ambulance runs that went on. And half the revenue comes from runs, half of it comes from the household fee to keep an ambulance in base. And when those runs stopped, that's when things really started coming off. And then after that, of course, we all know about inflation and the costs there. I mean, they haven't bought a new ambulance in years. I think the newest one is a 16. But I mean, the cost of a new ambulance now is north of $300,000. And there's no plans to get a new one. What'll happen is, you know, the oldest one that's 15 years old is going to go in for a re-chassing, you know, to be done. But to have a 24/7 ALS ambulance in rural communities, there's the rooftop fee, which is what we're talking about here, and then there's the run fee. There would be no ambulance in this community if it solely relied on user fees. There's not enough of them. About half the revenue comes there, half of it comes from user fees. You get into more rural parts, and that ratio is even higher, and there's not as many, the response time is much longer. Because you have one or two covering a county as you move further north. So,
Are you going to go to every dwelling and take that assessment? And that's gonna be their assessment, correct?
It's already done.
what do you mean we go to every
It's
dwelling?
already been done this year.
Well, how did you come out with the amount of people?
Oh, you mean how do we know? Well, we have a roll.
Well, yeah,
We don't know the amount of people, it doesn't matter, it's the amount of households.
okay, yeah.
It doesn't matter if you've got 10 in your family or 2, it's the same household fee.
You know, like the trailer park, we count the number of trailers, you know, in the trailer park.
And they pay the same as the house does.
So there's roughly 3,700 units just in Perry Township and City of Perry.
I don't know how many are in the city of Perry.
I don't know either.
There's 1,327 units in Perry Township.
So,
That's how many letters we sent out.
and you're basing that all across to Byron for this.
Well, that's not what we're doing. That's what CISA bills every community the same. How each jurisdiction collects it is up to them. Now, just about everyone does the same process we're doing right here. But the city of Durand does it a little differently. The city of Perry in the past has done it differently, they do it the same now. Village of Morris has done it differently in the past, they do it the same now. But CISA charges every community the same. What this hearing is for us to raise the money to pay them.
And, we'd have to take in consideration for the low-income housing areas, like the trailer park or the apartments or whatever, that are getting astronomical rent and, cost of living, but no income increases.
You
And-
realize that this is an annual fee, this isn't monthly.
Right.
The 120 is,
As it
Per year.
progresses, it could be $1,000 per
Well,
household. You know?
I would say that would be,
It's a little outlandish, I know,
but we are also
it's
in the
taxing.
middle, or actually higher than, lower than in the middle. There is 2 ambulance jurisdictions in the county that are over $200 a year.
I mean, most ambulances
We've tried
charge a household or whoever gets a ride, or their insurance company, and that's a pretty stiff fee too.
Well, but the insurance companies don't pay the whole bill, number one. And a lot of them, it depends on your insurance, how it gets paid. It's pretty amazing, but for the most part, we're kind of lucky if we collect half on a run fee.
Does this have anything to do with the missing over $200,000 from Perry Township?
That doesn't have anything to do with Perry Township, that's,
So it's nothing to cover up what's
No,
been taken,
no,
stolen?
no.
So with the ambulance service that we're going to pay, the $120 this year, tentatively $10 more next year. If we need an ambulance, we still have a run fee, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yes.
Yep, the fee is just a standby fee. Without that, there would not be, the ambulance could not survive on user fees. There would not be an ambulance here.
And part of the problem is the state has mandated a lot of things for the ambulances, you know, requirements that are very expensive. And so that's-
Just as
that's
a
part of it.
couple dollar amounts, I know people have asked about that in the past, you know, what is, you know, what do things cost there? So the average wage for the employees, the paramedics and the EMTs is $21.37 an hour. Put a note where you can make $15 an hour at McDonald's these days, so. And these people have to be licensed and have gone through school and everything else.
And they don't have to show up all the time either.
Well, but
These guys do.
they work a lot of hours, they work 24-hour shifts.
Yeah.
So, you know, they have to live there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, they have to respond at 3 in the morning, just like they do at 2 in the afternoon. So,
I had a question raised with me to the effect, now this hearing tonight covers this fee from the ambulance service, and it's $120, or will be, and that's what the hearing is about tonight. I've had it suggested to me that out of this, what's being covered by this hearing tonight, the township gets a certain amount that they could use with DDA or some other uses.
no, this goes into the special assessment fund and goes right back out in monthly installments.
And it goes,
We don't make a thing, it just costs us money to administer the hearings and notices and everything else. So we will be assessing $159,240, and that's what we will collect. Yep, goes in and goes out.
One good thing about our township, Perry Township, and I can speak, Troy won't speak to this, but I will. About 2 years ago, it looked pretty bleak for the ambulance, for the service, and Troy has been a fantastic treasurer for Perry Township over the years. He is conservative, he watches the income, the outgo, and that's good. He has become their treasurer, And this is, he does not get a paycheck, he hasn't asked for a penny.
I get $75 a meeting.
Okay, gets $75 a week.
Yeah, not worth our time.
But anyway, he had volunteered, Mark is on our board there at the ambulance service, but Troy has actually took it under his wing and has done an amazingly good job. So I just want people to know that, you know. Yeah.
So how much are we giving them a year?
Okay,
The ambulance service? How many
$159,240.
townships are gonna do that?
How many townships?
How
It's
many townships are involved with the
It's
ambulance?
gonna be Perry Township, Bennington Township, Antrim Township, Burns Township, Vernon Township, the city of Perry, and the city of Durant.
That's a pretty good chunk of money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
think they could live on that very well.
well, there's cost to that too. I mean, you know, up at the end of the table there was a copy of CISA's budget, which, you know, you're free to take a look at. You know, altogether it's just shy of $2.5 million a year budget.
That's a lot of bucks.
But each township.
And it costs a lot of bucks to run 2 ambulances 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
how many people do they have roughly?
16 full-time employees.
Okay.
There's effectively 2.5 ambulances. There's 2 24/7 ambulances, and then there's a 12-hour rig, 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.,
Okay.
which is when run volumes are
That's the
high.
half. That's
And
the
that one moves between Perry, there's a station in Perry and there's a station in Durant. And it moves between the two.
But each township's not gonna pay 159,
No, they pay the same amount
Yeah.
per,
120 per parcel.
Depends on how many units. are
we're
there.
not the biggest one, Vernon Township's the biggest one.
Vernon.
Yep, Vernon's the biggest, I think we're second.
Do we have any more questions or discussions from the public or the board? More questions or discussions from the public or the board?
And that's gonna come right along with our winter taxes.
Deal on our bill.
Yep, just like it's always been, I mean, the only difference you're gonna see from last year is it's $10 more.
Which is due in February.
This is just, we have to do this because it was up for renewal this year.
Something that could be brought up to CISA, many times that I've seen the ambulance drivers go here or there, they leave the engines running. And that's more wear and tear than doing 80 mile an hour, you know, just sitting there idle for an hour or however long they take to get something to eat or whatever.
If it's inclement weather, if it's cold, they have to leave it running because of the meds and stuff in the ambulance. You'll see when it's at the when it's at the station, inside or out, if it's cold out, it's plugged in because of, you can't have the medications.
Or hot.
Or hot.
Or too hot, they can't get too hot either, so real hot weather, they have to keep the air conditioning on. And that has been primarily why they're left running. But it's also been tradition, I guess, that they want to make sure it's going to start and go, I guess, there's been, I've heard, but in truth, most of the time it's just because of the weather that's outside.
I don't disagree with you, Matt, and it's better than it used to be, I can tell you that. It's better than it used to be.
If they're just running up to McDonald's or something like that, then they could probably take their own vehicle, one person, go get food for,
Well, the problem is they both have to be in that rig at any time, you know, so.
And that would increase response times and people wouldn't like that either.
True.
But they do not go out all the time because they have living quarters there. I mean, there's food and everything else there. So I don't disagree with you. I've witnessed it myself, and it's been addressed, and it happens much less. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
We live right close to Rupert Road, okay? And you're sitting in our living room window and you look out there and there's many times I see an ambulance go through, no lights, no nothing. What if they do down there? I mean, when they get on Rupert Road?
Is it a trial run, like?
No, it could be if they don't have the lights on, it may be a non-emergency type run. I mean, it could be a lift assist. for example, I mean, somebody's fallen and just needs up, but it's not an emergency, right? So they don't run, I mean, they only run the sirens when it's, you know, they're going to be
Yeah,
going through stop signs or exceeding the speed limit or stuff like that.
I'm an idiot, okay, we understand.
I think it would be nice if there was a way to be better informed in an informal way other than this. You said that this meeting was just to actually say, you're gonna have an ambulance district and it's gonna be $120. But when we listen to all the other things, you learn things that you haven't even considered into what goes into it. So it would be nice if there were some positive publicity about the ambulance service and how it actually has grown and is responsive. Just a comment, no comment accepted back.
That's a good point. Good point.
Well, it's discussed every September, the special assessment and everything.
True, and they do have weekly meetings, right?
Monthly.
Monthly meetings, and they've got a website.
Yeah, the website has a lot of information, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how much did the township give the fire chief last time he was here? I guess, I don't know. I was here when he was crying because they couldn't keep paramedics because they didn't have the money. And the township board voted them some money. When was that? I thought that was this year.
Would have been a year ago.
It was.
And it had nothing to do with this assessment that we're talking.
Sure did, it was when we reviewed it last year.
Dick, I've only been here 8 years, I've never had this. This is the first time.
We had to do a hearing last year to adjust the amount to 110.
Yes, right.
Because it was higher than
It
10%.
was higher than 10%. We went up from 65 to 100 and.
The goal has been to get it to a stable dollar amount and then move it in small increments each year. So the problem that happened before doesn't happen again. There were quite a few, Mark, on the board that wanted to go to 150, 160. And we fought that very hard and said, you know, we can't just go nuts and do a dream list of everything we want and all of that. It was a battle to get it to 110. And keep in mind, we're only 2 votes on an 11-member board. There were several jurisdictions that said, well, Woodall's over 200, why aren't we there? You know, and so, I know it sounds, you know, kind of self-serving, but we fought it hard to keep it at this level.
Did they have the money to keep the paramedics that they were losing because they couldn't pay them enough?
The payroll it's stabilized. You know, last year at this time, there were a lot of vacancies. I mean, you had the shift schedule, and of course, the ambulance is supposed to be staffed 24/7, so that makes it on overtime, which makes it even more expensive. Not to mention you get burnout at some point when people don't want to work. They work 24-hour shifts and you start working 5 or 6 of those in a row, and that gets to be tiring. So the payroll situation is stabilized. The ambulance drivers are unionized, so they have a contract that, you know, calls for, I think last year they got a 4% raise, which was what was in the contract. But keeping and maintaining paramedics has been tricky. 20 years ago, paramedics and EMTs were a dime a dozen. You know, one left, there was 5 more to take its spot. Not anymore. You know, and one of the things Kelly can tell you, being in the medical profession, hospitals are so short of nurses, they're hiring paramedics to do nurses' jobs
In the emergency room.
in the emergency rooms, which of course, you know, could never compete with that. And
And you've got the city of Lansing where their ceiling pay rate, you know, their pay ceilings are higher, Detroit's higher. You know, so these newbies that are graduating, they want to do the runs and they want to get paid.
we don't get new people. We don't get fresh out of the academy. We get generally middle-aged people who have done the adrenaline rush stuff, and then they are ready to go to a department that is not call for 24 hours. But yeah, no, in the last year, there's been 2 or 3 that have been lost to the city of Lansing, and city of Lansing pays $20,000 a year more. We can't even begin to compete with it and not even gonna try. You know, and if you wanna go work there, it's a very different environment than working here. But nonetheless, they've had to be replaced, you
And a lot
know?
of folks-
And there's a lot of costs when you shuffle employees. I mean, they are EMTs or paramedics, but they are also fire trained people. Well, when you know, just on the ambulance, you know, they don't have an expensive uniform, but if they're also a firefighter, that's an expensive uniform. That's a $6,000 uniform. And so, you know, not having your staff constantly turn over is helpful from that standpoint.
They're not all my size either, though. Some of them are pretty good size. Thought I'd throw that in. Yes, sir.
The way you're talking, you're trying to dig yourself out of a hole.
That was there 20 years ago, Larry.
You're trying to dig yourself out of a hole. How much are you gonna dig next year?
What do you mean, how much are we gonna dig?
Well, how much money are you gonna dig next year? I mean, you're digging yourself out of the hole financially for the ambulances and the fire department. How much you gonna need next year? Are you gonna, I mean,
I would anticipate it to go up by about $10 a household each year. That would be my estimate.
The services have, you know, when they go into homes, self-contained breathing, SCBA's, self-contained breathing apparatuses, you know, so they're safe when they go in. They're all new now, so they shouldn't have to be buying those next year or the next year, okay? They're all brand new, right? So that's a benefit. You know, I worked at the city.
And that's at the fire, that's on the fire.
I worked at the city of Flint for 29 years, and even in the water, the wastewater, we all had SCBA, we all had self-contained breathing apparatus. They had to be tested every year. All this has got to maintain. And that is, all these onuses and things are on that department, and they have to be done. They have to be done. They're inspected every month or every year, however they do it, you know.
Part of the cost problem is that, for instance, 3 years ago, we had to go to, each ambulance had to have a lift system in it instead of the paramedic and the EMT lifting the cot up into the ambulance. It has to have a tray that comes out of the ambulance, that the cot rolls on that, and then it's picked up and put into the ambulance. That's
an OSHA rule.
I mean, the government told us we had to do that. That was about $30,000 an ambulance.
That's where a lot of your cost more.
You know, we've had a number of things, and the mandated training that they require, that each paramedic and each EMT has to have X number of hours of continuing education credits per year, and we have to pay for that.
Yeah.
You know, all those things, and they just keep adding more things to us, and more costs and more requirements, and that's part of the problem. It isn't the whole problem, but it is part of the problem, that we have to keep up with what they tell us we have to do. I frankly don't know how departments like up in the upper even begin to do it. They don't have the population to support it, but that's what they're stuck doing. So.
There used to be, there were 2 private ambulance providers in our county, one of which was up until March of this year, and they left.
Yeah.
They said there's not enough runs here. They just left. You know, they're done.
Need more accidents.
Well, they want to be in Flint, and.
See, in Genesee County, there's not this sort of system because there's so many runs they can make it on private ambulance, because they follow the scanner traffic and go everywhere, but that doesn't work here. I mean, MMR, which was the one that I was referring to, covered Owasso, basically Owasso Township, but the whole northwest corner of the county, and March 1st, they packed up and left. Said, we're done. Not enough money there.
They watch for grants, you know, to try to help everything.
And I can speak very personal, because when my wife was alive, she fell and broke her femur, that's her leg, and they were there within a minute and a half and got her to the hospital, transferred from Owasso to Genesis, and got her back together. Now, she had to stay in the living room in a bed for 3-6 weeks, something like that, while her leg healed. But, with the breast cancer and all that she went through, I give the paramedics, I give the ambulance service, and I give them 100% full credit. And when you get a call and you have that kind of help, you don't have the fear. You know that if you call, they're coming. And, right?
Cheap insurance.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I can talk.
Cheap
about
insurance.
2 months ago, they were called to the senior center on a heart attack.
Okay.
And they came poking down the road, no lights, no nothing. It's like they was going out for a Sunday stroll.
Was that Morris?
Yes, right through Morris, right downtown.
Well, that means that
And
the
they just
call,
were not in a big rush, and they were
Well-
told it was a heart attack.
but 911 call center must not have told them that it was a heart
Somebody screwed
attack,
up.
because they wouldn't have taken that at a low priority call like that. That's
A
just,
cardiac event is a high priority call.
I
yep.
think going to the senior center, a
Wow,
bunch of old people that would, think there would be something they should be getting there for.
well, there's a whole criteria of what call is what
Yeah,
type
I
of
know, I was
response.
on the PMSA, I was an original volunteer for years. I
And
know
so you
what the hell's
understand that
going on
system.
with an ambulance.
Yep. But if that was a priority call and they didn't respond in a priority, they didn't know that. They didn't know what the call was. And that sometimes happens. It just does.
It seems to me, these questions are raised from the standpoint that the township board is setting the rate and dealing with the expenses that the CISA has. But my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that CISA tells you what they need to cover the costs and to deal with some of these issues that are raised, and you decide whether you're gonna pay that amount, because that's what they're asking for, but I don't think this township board has control.
Nope.
I know that you're on the CISA board.
We had two votes out of 11.
Yeah, so that's where you have, you can control what they ask for here. But as a township board tonight, the hearing is dealing with the question, they're asking to raise it $10 for the next year. And so that's what you're dealing with tonight, and you're kind of in at a fait accompli. They need this amount, I think you said was 159,000. So that's the question, you raise it to get that amount. And a lot of these questions on the board, CISA board's activities and their expenses, it sounds like that should be addressed to them at their meetings, because they're the people that are dealing with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Any operational questions should go to CISA. I mean, it is a separate legal authority, and I am sure the chief would meet with anyone who wants to meet with him, and could explain things in more detail.
And the meetings usually are right here now. They're not in Perry City. They're
Yeah,
here
they're
on
here.
Monday,
Third
the
Mondays.
third Monday of each at 7 o'clock, right here. So, and Troy's there making sure that the money is being handled appropriately, which I think is
I will say it again. We fought very hard to keep this as low as we could. If we hadn't battled on this, this would be pushing double what we're talking about now, right now. And they had a whole wish list of things that everyone wanted. This was to get it to bare bones to keep things moving in the right direction. But there was quite a hole that had been done.
I brought this up before. What's the possibility of going back to, say, a Suburban or a Hirsch-style ambulance instead of these $350,000 ambulances?
Well, the problem becomes space to work in. And we're back to the government, what they require us to be too. Working in a Suburban ambulance when you're doing CPR or something is very, very difficult. I did that for a number of years as a firefighter. And you've got no place to work. You can't stand up and do compressions very easily, you're cramped over. And there's a lot of other things that happen, but there's also more equipment we have to carry today than we used to. And that requires more cabinet space.
One thing to note is that now there's been a change at Owasso Memorial, and now any cardiac event, any stroke event has to go to Hurley or Sparrow. Doesn't go to Owasso. Has to, not optional,
It
has to.
just happened, didn't it?
Just recently.
You know?
There was a change in their trauma status. But any cardiac event or stroke goes to Hurley or goes to Sparrow, which, adds substantial travel time onto that.
In my experience as a combat lifesaver, we didn't have a whole lot of room to work with in a Black Hawk or a Huey. You just had to make it do
Yep.
and adjust and modify and.
Yep, I don't disagree with you, and there is probably some good thoughts in doing that, but we butt our heads with the state government and with the federal government on a lot of the things that we would like to do, You don't even see much in the way like a Sprinter van. Most of them are modular.
It was like, man, we were talking about the power lift system. That was horribly expensive, and that OSHA mandated that. I mean, they mandated that you put those in. Wasn't suggested, wasn't recommended, it was mandated.
It wasn't a bad thing, it's just that because it got mandated, the cost of it went up.
Yeah, every company that sells them knows it got mandated, so the cost went with it.
But as you know, back in 2020, mandates weren't law. Mandates were just suggested executive.
Yeah, but see, these were like OSHA that mandated those
That's
lists.
law with OSHA.
OSHA was mandates, those are laws.
We can't, the government doesn't really oversee OSHA very well. OSHA makes their own rules and we're stuck with them.
And they also fine people if they don't meet those standards.
I'm not disagreeing, I don't think it's a good rule, I think OSHA is out of control. But we got to deal with the hands we're dealt.
Okay, any other question? Yeah.
Do you have any stats on the survivability of people who are handled with this equipment versus the smaller equipment?
I'm sure there is, I don't have them.
That'd be a good operational question,
I'm
I
turning
just know from
81
past
this year, and if I
experience.
have something really bad happen, I think I wanna be in the big one.
Yep.
Well, it's much easier
Yeah, right,
to deal with it for you. You get a full arrest call or something like that. There's a good possibility there's gonna be more than one person in the back working on you. They'll take some extra firefighters or whatever they need to do. And that gets awful crowded in a small rig,
Yeah, I can imagine.
and very
I think we
difficult.
should consider ourselves fortunate that we don't have to do all of this under combat conditions yet.
But I was gonna say.
There you go, that's true. I'll go along with that. Yes.
We're gonna need more ambulances if we're in combat.
Yeah, I'd say that's true. Hopefully, we don't have to get
Anybody
there.
that,
Possibly a few
anybody
helicopters.
that hasn't spoken that wants to speak, or anybody? No? Anybody? No? Well, this was good. This was, again, if you want to see the CISA in action, it's Monday at 7, the third Monday night, right here.
And if you have a lot of specific operational questions, stop into the fire hall in Perry and, ask to speak with the chief or make an appointment with the chief or the deputy chief of EMS. They could tell, they're the ones who do it. They could give you all kinds of information, on true nitty-gritty detail operationals.
You said there'd be another meeting like this next month for what purpose?
It's the other part of it where we spread the role. So,
Spread the rule.
yes, right now, tonight, we're creating the district with the total cost, and then we spread the role to assess it to 120 on a parcel next month. It has to be in 2 different months, that's just the way special assessments work. So, repeat the same process.
And the bills come out when? For December?
December.
December, and you pay them by middle of,
It's just part of your
by
winter,
Valentine's Day.
part of your winter tax bill.
Yeah, always remember it that way. Okay. Okay, all right, thank you. Anything from the board? Okay.
Appreciate all your help.
Yes,
You're welcome.
good
Okay.
questions.
So what time is it
So,
7:44?
7:44.
7:04, we started at 7:04 and ended at 7:44, 40
Okay.
minutes. That wasn't bad, you know. It's good. All right, I'm supposed to keep talking, guys. The Perry Township Board did cause notice of a public hearing for the creation renewal of a special assessment district to be published, posted, and mailed in accordance to the law. A hearing was scheduled for today, September 4th, 2024, at 7 p.m., and all persons have been given an opportunity to be heard on the matter, correct? The board has found the estimated cost to maintain an ambulance service for the proposed ambulance service special assessment district, which is us, for the first year to be $159,240, and anticipated the cost to increase in subsequent years, and a redetermination may be necessary annually, which is by law. As a result, the Perry Township Board found that an ambulance service for the Township of Perry, excluding the boundaries of the Village of Morris, and a special assessment district is necessary and in the best interest of our township. Be it resolved through resolution number 5 or 05-2024, that's the year. The township does find it necessary to proper and create or renew the special assessment district of 2024, which the cost of ambulance service shall be assessed within the Township of Perry, excluding the boundaries of the Village of Morris. The board does hereby direct the supervisor and assessing office, the assessor, to make a special assessment roll, which will be levied against the parcels of land in the special assessment district in all respects to the directions contained in the resolution and applicable statutes. The special assessment roll will be filed with the clerk and be available for public examination. We're getting there, guys, we're getting there. The Township Board will meet October 2nd, 2024 at 7, that's our normal meeting next month, to review the special assessment roll and hear any objection. The cost for year 1 is set at $159,240 to be collected with the 2024 winter taxes, which are due in February of 2025. The duration of the special assessment district shall be 10 years. A redetermination of costs will be made each year on the first Wednesday of September for each duration of the special assessment district. In the event the costs exceed 10% of the costs established for the prior years, then a notice will be given and a hearing afforded to all the owners of the property to be assessed. And that's a special meeting. I need a motion to approve Resolution 05-2024, Perry Township Ambulance Service Special Assessment District of 2024.
Motion.
Motion by Mark Frazier, seconded by Francis Griffin. Clerk?
Roll call. Mark Frazier.
Yes.
Francis Griffin.
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Troy Parmalee.
Yes,
Mark Foltz.
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you. Yes.
You're free to go.
You're free to go.
Free to go.
Unless you want to hear the rest of that. Thank you for attending.
My question was, what's a roll? But now I know.
Now you know. Roll call. Yeah, roll call.
Something you may want to stick around for a few minutes. The head of the district library and the librarian from Morris are going to speak pretty quickly, so they might be interesting to stick around for.
That's coming up fairly quickly here.
Francis?
Okay, I-69 Trade Quarter informational meeting will take effect.
okay,
What time is it?
so 7:48, so this is one of the required informational meetings for the I-69 International Trade Corridor Local Development Finance Authority. So the I-69 LDFA has a district which encompasses property both in Perry Township and the city of Perry along Lansing Road and the industrial corridor. And it is part of a local development finance authority which captures property taxes along with our DDA for improvements within the LDFA district. So the point of the LDFA district is capturing money for utility work along Lansing Road, water main and sewer, future water main and future sewer expansion, Right now, the LDFA has $36,960 in its checking account, which is administered, it's at the I-69 International Trade Corridor level.
Okay, okay.
Are there any questions on the I-69 LDFA? Okay,
Explained it well.
Any proposed,
oh, sure.
any
Go ahead.
proposed businesses? I know that the steel company is gonna have an open house soon.
They already have it.
It was good, it was well attended. A lot of the people that built that building were from Rosebush, and they were, a lot of them, and they were there with their families. A lot of them were Mennonite people, and they all had 4 or 5 little kids running around. They were just running all around having a great time. But good building, nice sized building. They're gonna be able to actually make that building, let's say it's a big barn or whatever, make it right there and haul it right to your property and set it out. So
They
it's
actually have a mobile unit where they can.
mobile
they
unit,
can
it's
press the-
unbelievable.
Press the steel siding right on site
Yeah, so I'm
of
glad they had.
of certain levels, not
And
all
they're
the
gonna hire
styles.
some new people,
Yeah.
from this area
Yeah.
too. So.
Very nice company, yeah,
What time is it, Trish?
750.
7:50.
So is that the only new business, or is there any proposed coming along for I-69?
Oh, right now, well, there's that one that's been built. There was a new building in Bennett Drive that was just occupied, that green building kind of towards Lansing Road. That's called Redinger Steel. They erect steel buildings.
There was Beck's Propane.
And then Beck's Propane put in that new facility, which bought that was actually the site of a former gas station that our DDA cleaned up 20 years ago, because it was a not a Superfund site, but a contaminated site. And our DDA took upon themselves and spent lots of money, way more than they ever got back selling it, to clean that up and get it approved. And there was very strict restrictions. Can't have any. It couldn't be a residence, can't be a daycare, can't be a hotel, couldn't be a restaurant, anything like that. But the propane facility worked perfect.
Mr. Beck out of St. John's, who also owns a St. John's cider mill, that family. Anyway, he said, I want to put 2 propane tanks. I've got them in down south. I want to get them up here and like to put them there. I said, you're perfect, And he says, I don't want to deal with your person that deals with zoning. So Troy and I had to do a lot of that ourselves because of some conflicts that.
But
It come out
it
perfect.
got a property back on the tax roll that had been off the tax roll for 20 years and put it to a good use.
Yep, very good. Yeah, excellent. So
But that was a project, DDA, what did they end up selling that property for, 40,000, and it cost well over 100 to clean it
to
up.
clean the thing up. So, DEQ overseeing all of that cleanup process.
And there is other projects that are in the exploratory stages.
You need a motion? No, just informational meeting, okay.
We do have in our master plan a spot for solar. The problem for solar is that you need a main trunk line that we don't have in the township to hook for the large ones, like that one up on 13. Want to be one that big now, they have to have a single spot to hook to that can carry that kind of voltage.
We don't have any high transmission lines.
Right, so,
Okay,
Okay, public comment. Any more public comment?
I have
Yeah.
a question. We're seeing a lot of much needed and very welcome road work being done, right? But we were wondering, who decides what roads get done first and which ones are worse than others?
us.
well, it depends on the road.
Right?
It depends on the road, right? if you're talking about a state highway, which would be,
I'm thinking about the common,
right, the state decides state highways. The county road system,
A lot of blacktop roads, the county oversees mainly, highways and byways.
it is a partnership between us and the road commission.
I see.
And then
So,
sometimes-
for example, the road commission has a plan, 4-year plan, they do every 4 years, where they pave a main county thoroughfare. So ours is next year is in line, and they're doing Morris Road. So Morris Road will be, they stopped this year at Grand River Road, I think, so they're gonna finish Morris Road from Grand River Road to Lovejoy Road.
Over by us, Beardsley Road was done, and it's.
Beardsley
nice.
Road, that one
And
we
it's very
did.
pretty too, and it drives nicely, but it just seemed like it wasn't all that bad compared to some other roads.
Well, so, one of the tricks with roads is, if all you do is fix bad roads, well, you'll have our bad roads, right? So, the process that was done on Beardsley Road
It
there,
depends on how you fix them.
it does, but there's not enough money to fix everything the way everyone would like to fix it. So what was done on Beardsley Road is called, what's called a scratch course seal coat, where it goes in there and it's a thin layer of asphalt followed by the tar and stones on top of it. And what that does is it seals the cracks down underneath to preserve the surface and move on. Would it be great to be able to put a 3-inch road, asphalt cap on every 15 to 20 years? Yes, but there isn't enough money to do that.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of those seal coats, and people always question and say, well, is that really worth it? It's just some tar and stones. It is, because what it does is it seals the cracks, and when you seal cracks, you keep the water out.
I see, so it doesn't get worse after.
Right. So, I mean, when you take a road like that and do a preventative maintenance, you can do that for a third of what it costs versus if you ever drive through the village of Morris, where they let that go. I mean, that cost in there is 3 times what it was cost to do the Beardsley Road. So,
We were just a little bit worried about our train crossing, our little railroad crossing there, but they fixed it nice, they made it smooth again after that, all those
but I mean,
bumpity bumpities.
the road commission is in charge of all those roads, but we do in conjunction with them. We don't have jurisdiction over any roads, the road commission does, but any funding on local roads is looked to us.
And we have a little bit of a road fund account, and we do work with them, and they are pretty agreeable with.
So for example, next year when they do Morris Road, we're doing a lot of projects. We're doing Ellsworth Road, and we're doing, when they do the big county project, they get a much better price because they're doing a big project.
Sure.
And so if we can piggyback and do any road that touches one of those roads, it's about 15% less than just doing it on its own. So Britton Road was the last major road they did when the county went through and did east-west, so we were able to do Beardsley Road that touched to it. And so we've developed a strategic plan, so when they've done these big projects, we can do the roads that touch it. So next year, when they do Morris Road, it's gonna be Church Road, Ellsworth Road, and Braden Road. And then a couple years after that, they're doing Beard Road, and then the rest of Beardsley will be done. And so
joy, we get to wait a couple of years before we.
so there's a plan.
Yeah,
So they're going to asphalt Church Road?
The part that's asphalted.
Oh.
There's a little piece that's asphalted off of Church Road, around 69.
Okay.
It's like a quarter mile. No, nothing new is being asphalted. It's what's currently asphalted.
Because it costs not only to do it, but to bring that equipment in, that's an additional cost. And I was really hoping that Morris would have finished off that last block instead of having to wait to pay the.
We think the same.
We think the same. We have tried to have them coordinate and sit down, because that's why we do Ellsworth Road when they're doing Morris Road, right? Because you don't have that mobilization cost, but Morris is in charge of that piece of road, and
We don't
they
have
have
to say.
the same thing with Britton Road. They did Britton Road a year off from when the county did Britton Road, and they could have done it all at the same time, and they chose not to. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, guys. All right, sheriff report, Troy.
Last month, there were 157 calls for service. Of those, 35 were traffic stops.
Okay. All right, Mark Cecil?
Really nothing new at CISA, we're just in the middle of the new contract for the union and writing some grants and things like that, but nothing.
Yeah, 60.
Nothing really new.
I think we've touched on a lot of ambulance stuff already, guys.
Yep.
Thanks, Mark. Okay. DDA, we're gonna meet October 16th. Again, we meet every 3 months. We still are working with Alyssa Slocum's office on getting the water line down Lansing Road, down Bennett Drive, tying into the high school. And that way, we'll get the high school off bottled water. Right now, it's dirty. The water's terrible. Can't drink it. So if we get the water loop in there, it's in our office. It's in Washington DC right now for $1.2 million. The DDA, we have about $500,000 to put in it with it, and we'll be able to, $1.6 million, we'll be able to do that water line. So we're happy about that. We're hoping it progresses. I've had comments from their office. It's one of her 15 projects that she's pushing for. The last 2 years, she got every project she asked for. So she asked for like 14 last year, she got them all. So we're hoping, we're certainly hoping. Anyway, let's see, zoning. Yeah, we got some zoning. Love the zoning, Kelly. We got the construction of the metal sign for the new business on Old Lansing Road, the Lifetime Metals building. We got to replace existing deck on property on Pine Ridge in Perry. We've got Morse Road. I can't really read what that is. I don't know what that is.
Because they cut off part of
Is
it.
it a deck?
Yes, a deck.
It's a deck, a 6 foot by 5 foot deck. We've got a Brandon Road. We've got adding Braden, 17 by 20. Four Seasons room off the west end for the sun. Okay. We got Beardsley Road. We got
Shed.
a shed. Okay, got a shed, and pouring cement there again on the metal. I think that's it.
Yep.
Okay, and then that is zoning. Tom.
Yes, well, we can shift right into zoning from the county standpoint. As you're all aware, I'm sure, the state legislation that preempted local zoning by cities and townships with respect to solar and wind, they didn't get enough signatures to try to repeal that. So that goes into effect on November, I think it's November 29th. So from that point on, the townships, and in our case of Perry Township and Woodhull Township, as you know, since we don't do our own zoning, we rely on the county. This applies to the county as well. The state will be stepping in to decide the placement and siting of the solar facilities that would exceed 50 megawatts and wind that would exceed 100 megawatts. So that means the local zoning authority can't control, in our case, our local zoning authority would be the county. Using that, we cannot control the siting unless it complies with the state law. And the state law set rather lax standards insofar as setbacks, the noise levels that can be created by these systems. And so that's going into effect. Now, an adjacent county and township to us, I've been dealing with them, Cohocton Township in Livingston County. They are going to, it appears that they're going to undertake to litigate with the Public Service Commission, which is the state entity that's going to site these facilities, from the standpoint that the statute established these lesser standards for the setbacks and noise and so on. That's right into the statute. Local government can't come up with anything different than that. But not everything that regulates these facilities is included or set in the statute. At least that's the position that it appears that Cohocton Township's gonna take. They anticipate litigating over the matter. So even though the new system goes into effect November 29th, there may be some litigation issues. I understand that the MTA, the Township Association, really has kind of backed away from this issue. So it's kind of been left up to individual townships, as in the case of Cohocton, to deal with it. The theory that they're operating, I don't want to get too far in the legal weeds on this, but the theory that Cohocton Township is going to operate on is that they've set a CREO, a compatible ordinance with what the state requires on just those specific items that state requires, but they're going to regulate beyond that, which will generate this controversy with the Public Service Commission, which they see it as a way of holding up the Public Service Commission from being able to implement these different things. I have asked Dr. Boggs, the county administrator, I've raised this issue with him, I've talked to him about it, and it's my understanding that the county is gonna approach the attorneys that are handling it for Cohocton Township to prepare an opinion as to the extent the Cohocton Township approach would apply to a county, which is a different level of government. And that would affect Perry and Woodhull Townships. Although it's my understanding, and the county is keeping a record of people that have filed with the Register of Deeds, indications that they're looking at setting up, I think they're calling them solar sellouts.
Leases.
But,
Yeah.
but people that, are endeavoring to lease. And of course, we have to appreciate too, for those folks, it may be an opportunity to use their property and have a lease that would be a money maker for them. But it's going to affect Perry and Woodhull Townships indirectly because our zoning is done not by ourselves, but by the county. But I have asked that approach be looked at least that we get an opinion on the extent to which that would apply to the county. And
What did Bob say then?
I haven't gotten a response from him yet. I did get the name and the phone number of the attorney from, it's Foster, Swift, and Collins in Lansing, which is a kind of a major law firm in this area. I mean, they're big time guys, and so they're gonna look at that. That's probably the biggest thing going on. Otherwise, things are pretty quiet on the county level. There has not been a lot going on.
All right, well, good. Okay, Tom, thank you. Our library, Community District Library, Jamie is here. She's going to give us a little handout or something.
Well, we wrap up our fiscal year in June, so I just like to stop by all of the municipalities
Thank you.
where we have branches, you're welcome, and drop off the library report. And then, so does anybody else want library statistics? There you
Jamie,
go.
is that little horse in there?
There sure is. Yeah, so you'll see on the second page, those are some of the programs that we held at the library this year. So these are just the important statistics that we keep at all 7 branches. So I'm doing the district report And then Caroline is the branch manager at our little Morris branch down the road, so she'll speak what is happening there. As this time of year, we've had over 4,200 patrons who hold library cards, which isn't bad because our service area is about 28,000. We had over 9,500 patrons log into our computers throughout the year, so those are still being used, and that includes our Wi-Fi statistics also. We had over 21,000 downloads of our digital content, and that continues to go up every year. That includes our digital books, our digital audio books, which actually is the highest usage, movies, music, that kind of thing. So if you don't have a library card, you can get one and access any of these services. But that contributes to a total of 95,000 checkouts district-wide. So our branches are still being heavily used. We had, trying to figure out how many people walked through our doors. I had that count somewhere in here. Okay, yeah, we had over 68,500 people walk physically through our doors at our library branches. And we're back up to about 2019 numbers, which is excellent, before 2020. So we're really happy about that. And we held over 700 programs district-wide. That includes things like story times. We have a lot of, Caroline especially has a lot of after-school events. And that includes 8,300 people who attended those programs. Let's see, I won't bore you with any more numbers, but we did have a really great summer reading program this year. We had over about 950 people sign up and participate. A highlight of the year is we did our first ever community-wide One Book Shiawassee program. And we worked with Shiawassee District Library in Owasso. We worked with all of the libraries in Shiawassee County the first time ever, so it was quite exciting. That included Lynxburg Library and Vernon District Library. And we brought in the award-winning author, best-selling author too, Angeline Boley, who authored the book The Firekeeper's Daughter, which I hear is going to be made into a television program. She spoke at the Lebowski Center during an author visit and answered questions and signed books, and so that was really exciting, and we'd like to do that again in the future. And another positive thing that happened, we passed our millage, so we're funded for the next 4 years. So, and that passed about 60% yes, on average 40% no. So, and then you'll see on page 2, those are mostly our summer reading program pictures, but we had a lot of participation this year, so it was an exciting year for us. So, Caroline?
So I'm Caroline Vincent, and I am the branch manager at our Morris branch, which is right downtown in the village of Morris. And we do programs for all ages. So we have adult book clubs, story times, elementary school book clubs, teen book clubs. And we also do crafting programs. In November, PFCU is going to come and do an anti-fraud program for us at the Morris branch of the library. And we have a really good group of patrons that come in, and we add new library cards every single month. We offer faxing, copying, printing. We have public computers that are available for use, and anybody who doesn't have a library card, we would love them to come in and check out what we have going on in our tiny little happy library. If you've never been to Morris, it's very small, like maybe a quarter of this room, but got lots of things for everybody.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions for Jamie? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Question.
Maybe not just a question, but a comment. The renovations at the Perry Library were done nicely.
Thank you.
However, it would have been a little more feasible for people to park if something, the purchase of the old church there on Britton Road, or just off Britton Road.
Yeah, parking has always been an issue at that branch. During that renovation, we opened up the back of the building for an entrance, for a second entrance. So there is parking in the back, which that parking lot is owned by the city of Perry, and we happen to share that with the fire department as well as TDS, so we're limited, unfortunately, yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Anybody wants to leave, you certainly can. We're just gonna go, we're gonna pay a few bills now.
Thank you.
Oh, no, we're gonna go SEDP, Mark. Sorry, economic development.
SCDP,
Economic development.
we are discussing the attendance of the board members. And from that end, I would like to ask you when I need an alternate to go to those meetings. Can you do that for me?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Sure.
Because
When is that?
they're,
When do you meet?
they're the third Monday at noon.
Oh, okay, third Monday at noon, okay.
But, I mean, I haven't missed a meeting in 5 years, so it's,
Okay.
but I
they
just
could
want to
come.
make
Sure,
sure
okay.
that because
Will you remind me, Kelly?
I'm sure Mark will let you
Or
know.
Mark,
Mark
you
will
remind
let you
me.
know if you need to go.
And in, other than that, we're involved, we get a grant to finish the housing study that the land bank
Yeah, I
started.
think that's the one that.
And we now have the money to do some more implementation of that through a grant.
Where you rent your property.
And of course, you know, the land bank and the SEDP work kind of hand in hand, and big thing from the land bank from the last month has been the welcome in being gone up in Owasso next to Walmart and Arby's there. That motel is
Yeah,
out of there now,
gone.
It was needed, and there is a company that's got a plan for that property now. But the land bank was able to do that through a blight grant. And, get that handled, so that was just a flop house. There wasn't anybody controlling it, there were just people living in there, and it was creating a lot of problems, so anyway, that's kind of land bank and SED.
Okay, and the planning commission for the
Planning Commission,
township.
we're back to working on the ordinance some more, and we talked about the Rothney property in Salta Morris there that, for the variance, and we got the staff report that we're supposed to have 45 or 50 days ahead of decision time. We got it the day of our meeting.
10 minutes before our meeting.
Yeah, so,
I printed it off 10 minutes
Yeah.
before the meeting, all right.
but we worked on that. We also, election of officers happens in June, but we missed, so. Officers stayed the same with the exception that Lena will be not the recording secretary, but the secretary that has to sign the minutes and stuff.
Annual document and everything.
Yeah. But we have not solved the recording secretary situation yet.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
No.
Okay, that's all our
I got
staff reports, okay.
Take care.
Troy, it's up to you now.
All right, you have your bills list in front of you. So we went extra weeks between meetings, because I remember we moved our August meeting a week early because of the election. So there's some duplicate bills in there. There's lawn mowing, dumpster, those sorts of things that would be showing on both months, because we had both July's and August there, so. Notable thing on the income side, we did receive our third revenue sharing check for the fiscal year.
Was that good? I mean, what you expected?
Yeah, it's there. Usually our last 3 checks of the fiscal year are the larger ones.
Okay, good.
So on that, are there any questions on the bills?
Pay 'em.
Mark, pay the bills. Butch, second, okay. Roll call vote, Kelly.
Mark Foltz?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
Francis Griffith?
Yes.
Kelly Clark, yes. Terry Crews?
Yes. Okay, check. Correspondence, Kelly, any?
No.
Troy, any? No. I don't have any. Okay, correspondence. Public comments or announcements? Any announcements, Kelly?
Nope.
No. Public comment? Public? Yes.
Well, I'll say, I'm Matthew Shepherd, here in Terry. I brought it to the attention of the county council last year that we could protect ourselves from the state interdiction, for zoning of these mega battery plants, solar, and wind turbine projects. I'm not calling them fields because we'll never be able to grow anything on the fields again after those projects are put in place. Over $6 trillion by the time it's all said and done, of the taxpayers' money will be invested in the implementation of these projects. And that's just astronomical fees that they're using our money. My suggestion is that the county establish a county charter, which is basically their own constitution to protect themselves from a tyrannical government. Now, my understanding is Perry has a charter. I'm not sure if the township here does or not. But it would be easy enough to do something like that to prevent the state from saying they're going to put a mega battery plant in, say, Benjamin's Field or
Oh, a field?
yeah. The whole idea is, I was participating with the signature collecting initiative, and we're trying to prevent them from using eminent domain in the long run, where they can take property and property owner can't say anything about it.
Matthew, I think the neat thing about it, I hear what you're saying, but as the wheels turn, I think it's going to be interesting to see how it all goes, and I think that the good thing about Perry Township is we're rural, we're small. I worked at the city of Flint for 29 years. Went through a lot of mayors, a lot of crazy things. And 2 weeks ago, they got hacked. And whoever hacked them wanted $1 million ransom. Same thing happened to the hospital in as you know, McLaren. And you think it might be the same people, okay, from overseas. So as things develop, we're gonna get smarter and smarter and smarter. They still don't have a phone system. Luckily, it didn't affect 911. The hospital, the ambulance services, it didn't affect that, but you couldn't pay your taxes, unless you had cash, And so they waived the late fees and all that. They're just now starting to get in that stuff back, and then all of the people at the township or at the city of Perry or city of Flint are having to input a lot of that stuff manually. Crazy stuff. And it's going to happen more and more in this wicked world we live in.
I made the same suggestion to the county
Yeah.
that we relinquish control of zoning back to each township.
So we're working on, you'll like the fact that we're working on trying to reestablish that.
The big holdback for us is the cost. It's going to cost the township quite a bit of money to be able to do that, because we have to hire certain personnel to do it. They have to be at certain training and certifications, and it just becomes another cost that we're kind of loath to get into, but we may be there,
And they have to share with another township, the person or people that are involved in that, which we're willing to do.
right, I mean, that's how we're gonna have to do it, but it's still, we've looked at other townships like Owasso Township that does their own and their costs, Caledonia. But if you don't have the foundation to do it with, that includes a good master plan, which we do now have, and an ordinance, a zoning ordinance. If we don't have that, then you're playing catch-up if you decide to the county, goodbye, we're gonna do our own. Well, you gotta have something to work from.
Right.
So we're working on that.
It's a
with the
very
thought-
lengthy process.
It is, it takes a lot of time, and we're lucky we've got somebody that's very good at it on our planning commission that's been working on that, but, until we have that in place, it would probably be a bad mistake to just jump to doing our own until we have all that in place.
You can't just jump to your own unless you have your own ordinance.
That's right. But we still have to decide we have the money to do it.
Now, each month they're getting through each of the details of what we need in our zoning ordinance, and so we're over half through it,
Yeah.
so.
But then the state throws things like the Creole laws to do with the solar and wind, those kind of things, you know, we're just trying to make sure we're doing the right thing first.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of that energy too that hasn't came out. You know, in November, it's all gonna start coming out, and, you know, how big they have to be for the state to control them and all that. So we're still gonna need, the county's still gonna need an energy ordinance for the smaller ones that wanna come into the county.
All right.
All right, thank you. Any unfinished, I don't see any. New business, snow removal contract. Yes, it's gonna snow.
So I reached
Kelly?
out to three companies
Okay.
for snow removal. I heard from two.
Okay.
You have the estimates in front of you. Focal Point Landscape,
We did it last year.
they did it last year. And then Suggett Construction did it the year before that. So you've got those prices in front of you.
It's on the back side.
This one got the wrong page. I don't think it should be any of that one, I'm sorry, or I didn't pick it up. Who's the cheapest?
So you'll notice, Focal Point is charging for the north and south cemetery individually.
Okay.
So that would be one push, I suppose, or one plow would be $250 for the cemetery.
Is that total?
About that. It's-
Cemetery
Where's the cemetery
on the back. Did I not give you that one?
No,
No.
no,
No.
we're in the blind.
Yeah, so Suggett was gonna do 150 for the cemetery complete. The salt difference is much higher for Suggett than it is for Focal
Of
Point.
course, when you add it together, it's virtually.
Pretty close. So,
What's the board's wish?
When you add it
We've had them
together.
both, they both are good, you know.
Well,
I think it,
as long as we don't have a problem like we had last year where the renter of the hall at the holidays.
Oh.
That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Whatever.
that was-
I think
yeah.
Kelly knows more about what happens down here and at the cemetery than any of
Well-
us, because she's here all the time.
I don't care either way. I have the documentation that I need from each one of them, so whichever one, you know, the board decides.
Did the
It doesn't matter.
cemetery, did Mike have any complaints with the,
No,
okay.
but.
Of course, we didn't have a lot of
have-
snow. We didn't-
Right,
we
and we didn't
a lot
have
of
any
snow,
complaints from Suggett.
You know.
I think we needed to tweak a few things from both of them, based on, you know, plowing the township hall here, so.
But Focal's less per total, is that right? Am I reading that right?
For salting and plowing, yes.
Focal is, well,
$25 less if you add plowing and salting, right?
they're $100 more for the cemetery,
But they're more for the cemetery.
yeah.
My question, Kelly, is how does that price compare to last year, if we had them last year?
Focal Point is a little bit higher.
A little bit higher, not
Yeah.
much. All right. Whatever the pleasure of the board is.
that a standard 125 for the plower, or is that, can they raise more on the time?
Say that one more time?
I said plow driver per time, $125.
It's like a push. For
Okay, but what I'm saying is, if they're there, if they got a certain
It's per,
time.
it's per push.
Okay.
Yeah, they just wrote it down as per time.
I see that too. I mean, all the time.
That's why I was
Which one do you want?
I don't care.
Per occasion, I guess, you know, per time, per
Yeah.
occasion, okay.
I just want to make sure that it has a certain.
I'll make a motion, we go with focal point.
Okay. Troy has made a motion.
Let's make a decision.
I hear that. Troy has made a motion.
Second.
Oh. Butch, second, okay. Okay, roll call vote, Kelly. One in the bathroom, I think.
Yeah. Francis Griffith,
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Troy Parmalee,
Yes.
Mark Foltz.
Yes.
He just say he left the meeting during
In
that
other
time.
words, suck it, you know.
Yes, he does our
Yeah.
drive.
All right, keep going, Mark, it's cool.
Don't worry about Mark, okay, he's in there. Supervisor, Great Lakes Drinking Water Conference. Okay, this is a time for me to get away. No, it's a conference down at Troy, Michigan, and it's a one-day deal.
It's right on top of Mark.
Oh, what's up here? You haven't seen it. Great Lakes Drinking Conference. It's at Troy at that showcase place, and all kinds of people are there from the DEQ, Great Lakes Drinking Water Conference, Michigan Department of Environmental Great Lakes, Eagle's going to be there, all kinds of different information and contacts, different officials. A lot of the area people will be there, and so it'll be good for me.
You got plenty in your seminar still to go, so.
I make motion that it goes.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, Kelly?
Francis Griffith,
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Troy Parmalee, Mark Foltz,
Yes.
Mark Frazier.
Yes.
I mean, these are the people that are going to be there, which is 2-3 pages of.
That's going to be something pretty good.
Just like, you just like
Yeah, right,
to
right.
drop names.
We received a Michigan State University extension. There is a zoning citizen planner program. It's on zoning and planning, and Beth Andrus would like to attend that. She wanted to do the in-person, but it's not local, so she said that she would do the online course, and that is $250
Okay.
per person. So I make a motion to send Beth to that program course.
Second.
Okay.
So everyone knows, she's the one that is diligently on the planning commission working on the zoning ordinance, so.
Roll call for that is Kelly Schmidt, yes. Troy Parmalee?
Yes.
Mark Foltz?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
Francis Griffith?
Yes.
Okay, now we got the cemetery cleanup bids. We lost, well, we didn't have, was it last Wednesday?
Tuesday.
Last Wednesday,
Last Tuesday.
we had lost power?
Wednesday we lost
Wednesday.
power.
Lost
Tuesday-
Wednesday?
Storm was Tuesday night,
Oh,
yes.
yeah, okay, whenever. We lost power all day here at the hall, and of course, trees fell at the cemetery. That caused problems with, obviously, in fact, it was over the road. We had to get it off the road because they were driving on the grass around and by the cemetery headstones. Anyway,
We had 3 large trees go down in the cemetery. Because it's the cemetery, Mike Green said that he would get those cleaned up. He would take care of the large trees, repair the lawn. When people were zooming by in the ditch, they were ripping the ditch up while he was trying to get the tree out of the middle of the road. So he's going to repair those, and he's also going to set up any toppled headstones that may have happened to have fallen over. So his estimate was $6,800 to do that. And then Rescue Me Pure Lawn Care, they're the ones that mow out there. They spent a lot of time cleaning up branches, the decorations that blew off. There was broken glass because things had, fallen. So they cleaned up that portion, and that was a $575
It was
charge.
basically an extra mowing charge.
Right.
So, all of that's gonna be turned into the insurance on it, but we can't finalize it, because on that one on the south side of the road, there may be headstones broken.
Could be some more
Correct.
issues there, yeah.
Right.
And I do appreciate the fact that they did get all the broken glass cleaned up, and because, like, you know, he mowed today, he mowed here, he mowed there, and the problem is, there, you know, that would've been everywhere, so.
Motion to approve the estimates from Green and Rescue Me Lawn Care for cleaning up the storm damage at the cemetery,
I'll second,
pending insurance
I'll second that motion.
claim.
Roll call is Trey Parmalee. Yes. Mark Foltz.
Yes.
Mark Frazier.
Yes.
Francis Griffith.
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes.
Is that it, Kelly?
That's it.
That's it, public comments, third time, holy cow. Thank you for attending, guys, appreciate it, enjoy it. And
Motion
nice
to
evening.
adjourn,
What time?
Second.
8:34.
Did you run out of tape?